Subscribe to our YouTube channel for in-depth interviews of India Inc. and press the bell icon so that you do not miss our updates.
Hello and welcome to the Nirmal Bang, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Hiral Dadia. We have with us Harihar Krishnamurthy, Treasurer and Head for Global Markets First Run Bank joining in. Welcome to the show, Harihar, and a pleasure to have you as always. Harihar, my first question coming to you is clearly, with what's happening with the bond markets right now, we have seen gradual normalization, but if you see with RBI, they have kept the interest rates on hold as expected. They have continued to remain accommodative, and they've said that they will continue to maintain their accommodative stance as well. Now, taking all of this into consideration, how are you forecasting the bond markets to react from, say, another 3 to 6 month perspective? Because last couple of weeks have been slightly volatile. After the budget, we saw what happened. Then we did see some bit of cooling off.
I think you're right. As we were speaking just before we started the interview, I think the last week was a more predictable kind of period because when COVID strikes and the economy topples, everything is very predictable in the bond market. Interest rates go down. You do everything to save the economy, accommodative policy, falling interest rates. Now we are in a situation where the economy seems to be roaring back. It's no longer called pent up demand. It's really now firing away. You have everybody forecasting GDP growth rates of anything from 10.5 to even 17%. So in that kind of a market, you are now suddenly having a situation where the market is faced with a government borrowing program, which surprised the market on the upside because it was a logical surprise, because the markets thought last year a huge borrowing program was probably, very much logical. This year, if the corporate sector is firing away so much and volume sales are picking up, profit margins are back, then does a level of support need to be that much? Obviously, the government's call has been that this kind of a growth can sputter away. So to keep the momentum up, the government borrowing program has been large. So after a long, long time, you're probably going to see a situation where the corporate sector is also going to be borrowing heavily, probably the retail borrowing first and then the corporate borrowing as capacity utilization is starting to hit the optimum levels in many industries. As also you have a government borrowing program which is very chunky, all in a backdrop of the fact that the FPIs have decided they don't like the Indian debt markets because the interest rates are too low. Again, to complicate the matters, you have inflation, which was at 7%, which has now come to a more benign 4.5% odd. But even at 4.5%, it's probably higher than your T-bill yields and call money rate. So you're still in negative yield territory. So in this kind of a market, how does a bond dealer position himself? I think it's absolutely complicated.
Mm.
You look at the liquidity situation in the market and position yourself accordingly. I think you would still go long bonds because you had at peak about 7 odd lakh crores of surplus liquidity, which has now come down to a more moderate 4.5 5 lakh crores of liquidity. But since we're talking now, what has happened is obviously when the RBI said let's normalize, and it's very logical for the RBI to normalize because you don't keep money markets so easy for so long, especially when you see confirmation that corporate sector is bouncing back and you see confirmation that inflation is roaring up. So you don't want to, hold the rates so low that you create a problem for the future, as we've seen in the past accommodative stances. But RBI's dilemma could also be that when the government has come up and taken such a huge chance and coming up with such a large fiscal deficit and a large government borrowing program with the hope of getting GDP and employment up, do they be party to the whole process, or do they come and spook the whole party and hide the interest rates? So this is the dilemma for the regulators with the government facing the market. For us, when we saw the normalization happening, obviously it means that the lower part of the curve, which selectively had gone even below the 3% yield, I think that when you see firmly money getting picked up by the regulators at 3.5% or thereabouts for 14 days, that has become the floor in the marketplace. So as bond dealers, you know that the accommodative policy may continue, but the surplus is no longer the 7 odd lakh. It's more the 4.5 5 lakh crore. Also, since we're talking Fed, we have March advance tax payments standing up straight in front of us, and probably this will be an unheard of quarter. If you look at the corporate results and the corporate profits, and therefore extrapolate and figure out what the tax payments will be. So, month of March, you could see the yields, the surplus money really coming down substantially. Finally, when you had the CRR walking away, the relaxation that was given in the marketplace, even if it goes off in two tranches, the market has much lower liquidity. So what is
Mm,
happening in the yield market is just a recognition of the fact that the accommodative policy stance will continue.
mm,
However, the extent of accommodation is coming down very naturally in the marketplace as corporate offtake of money and government offtake of money happens, and therefore the yields are going up on the shorter term a bit more definitively. On the longer term, there seems to be a lot of buying that is happening, probably from state-run banks, probably at the behest of RBI, and also the OMOs may be more concentrated in the benchmark because that is
mm.
what stands out. So I think the longer term will hold out a little bit more, but gently speaking, yields will go up, as indeed they should go up, because that is what reflects the economy, both the corporate sector and the growth and other prospects.
Right. So with this, would it be right to say that the gross market borrowing of the center for FY22, they're budgeting around 12 trillion rupees. Now, with that, they've decided to extend the dispensation of the enhanced HTM of 22% of NDTL, which will then be restored to almost 19.5% in a phased manner. All of this, do you think, will come in as a great support to the bond market demand? And secondly, they are looking at retail investors, giving them online access as well to the government securities market, both in the primary and secondary phase. How do you think all of this will actually act with regards to the bond demand?
Regarding the first on the HTM part, I think one can't quibble. I think it's a measure that they have done and for the benefit of the banks.
Mm,
Having said that, remember, you're at the probably bottom of the interest rate cycle. From here, interest rates are only one way, and that to go up. So if this HTM provision was forever, that a bank could buy even at 3% or 4% and put it in
mhm,
the box and forget it forever and don't have to market, then I think it would have been a fabulous move. But come 2023, if you're going to open it up and market to market, then you got to figure out whether the roaring economy and when even lagats like power sector are roaring away and electricity consumption is going up, capacity utilization is going up. Logically, 2023 should be a very solid year. If you're talking of a solid year, then the interest rates will be higher than what they are today. So when you take it out of the box of the HTM and have to market, there is a good chance that you might have to market negatively the paper.
mhm,
So while thing is good, a 1 or 2 year horizon, when you see almost certain economic growth happening, and therefore logically draw a conclusion that the interest rates then will be higher than what they are today, the mark to market risk continues to be very high because everybody in the market thinks there's going to be a gradual pickup in
mhm,
it's not going to be dramatic, but it's gradual because the FPI flows are strong, so that will keep the liquidity position where it is. But the RBI intervention, the forward markets will also push the liquidity out of the forward
mhm,
side. So that's on the side. On the retail part, I think it's a very good move that people can actually directly go and buy from RBI. My sense is probably it's not aimed at you and me and the 5,000, 10,000 rupee ticket. Who probably has a better alternative by going to the local post office and buying a small saving product or a bank FD. But if they define it a little bit more broadly and get institutional players, mutual funds, other entities coming there, then very selectively, I think it'll help because they can cut the bank or cut the absence of liquidity in the marketplace and go and buy it from them. Having said that, it is only to buy if you remember. So you also, if they want to get the liquidity back, they will need to sell it into the marketplace. And all of this is at a time when the yields are a very important marker. So how many people in the market would want to buy a 3.5%, 1.5 year or 1 year paper, which is fully taxable and you don't get an investment break or a tax break when you invest it? So the attractiveness of the product from a taxation point of view
mhm,
hasn't really been enhanced. The ease of buying it has come up, and that is very good because bankers have been requested by the regulator for long to kind of start something on the retail side, and bankers
mhm.
are struggling on how to integrate their demat systems with the RBI's selling systems and get the whole thing done. So I think it's a good move, but I think it'll automatically take off when interest rates are a bit higher, when the basic attractiveness of the product will probably get enhanced a bit.
So Hariyar, with this now, last week itself, the RBI announced a 20,000 crore bond purchase program. Now, that was something which the markets already welcomed. If you have to consider calendar year 2021, what's the quantum of OMOs are you expecting?
Very tough to say because we are not even into that new year, right?
Mhm,
Into the new fiscal year. So I'll just tell you what are the various moving parts that will happen
Mm,
in the
mm,
historical perspective. So about 3 years back, if you remember, when the RBI was very active on the OMO side, if I remember my numbers rightly, they did about 2.8 trillion rupees, 280,000 crores worth of OMOs that they bought from the marketplace to keep a lid on the interest rates. So that is one number that you have. On the other hand, in this year, you have a number which is, in double-digit lakh crores, and therefore it looks like a very large number. But if you look also at the commentary that
mm,
many analysts have given, and you also look at what's happening on the ground, the kind of growth that they seem to have forecast, many of us would want to believe that it is slightly conservative. It is not as bullish as it could be. Like a simple number like the GST collections for the last month was 1,20,000 crores. We've never seen 1,20,000 crores
mm,
ever since
mm,
GST came. So if you get 10,000 crore more click per month, it's 1,20,000 crores per annum. If that kind of a game changer. So while the number per se of government borrowing program in the absence of FPI buying, in the absence of mutual funds buying, looks large and therefore might necessitate a large amount of OMO purchase to keep a lid. There is a good chance that if the GDP fires away at the pace at which it seems to be firing away, the GST collections may surprise all of us on the upside. And my
mm,
personal bet is that that's going to happen. And that is what the stock market is telling you, that the company results are going to be much better, etc., etc. And if that happens, you could have a surprise government borrowing program cut that could happen in the second
mm,
half of the year, which might be welcomed by the marketplace. And very genuinely, the government can't budget for that, because
mm,
obviously they've got to front load the spending at this point in time to make sure
mm,
that the GDP growth happens. But this is after a long time, you're going to walk into a new fiscal with the economy already firing away and the government willing to put more money to make sure that the firing away continues to fire away. So by itself, they will have to do large amounts of OMO, but if the GST collections continue to be very strong,
mm,
and of course, there are lots of other imponderables. If the stock market is so good, the disinvestment may surprise us on the upside. You could have a large amount of disinvestment happening. You have that 1,75,000 crore chucked in, but you could surprise on the upside. Similarly, telecom auctions, virtually nothing has been slated in out there for the 5G auctions, but and only the 4G collections, about 48,000 crores is slated in.
mm,
But should that happen again, that could be a big cause for upside. So I think there is a good possibility that you could have surprises on the upside and therefore a
mm.
crash in the government borrowing program, but only in the second half of the year.
Right. So with this, when we're saying that there is going to be a good borrowing program of the government, with that, you already have the RBI, which is going to be an active buyer as well with regards to the bond market. How do you think will it impact the private sector? And secondly, what will be the impact on interest rates according to you?
Very generally speaking, I think we have to, all of us are now reconciled to, when the economy is growing and we
Hmm,
are still
hmm,
seeing COVID times. You name the company and the company is announcing product price hikes. And none of us is actually irritated with that. We actually applaud it, and the company shares go up, and the consumers come and buy it. So when you have an economy where the volume sales are going up and the product prices have gone up, partly because profit margins are sought to be taken up, and partly because international commodity
hmm,
prices are going up, partly because inflation, generally speaking, has gone up, something that the governor alluded to, both imported inflation and local inflation. It
hmm,
is but natural that interest rates will have to go up. Interest rate is just one part of the whole cost process. Maybe it's a bit sensitive in some sectors like housing, where a decision to buy or not to buy can be easily influenced by a much
hmm,
lower interest rate. But in other areas, it is important, but a price of a coal or price of steel or price of cement could be a bigger game changer than simply the price of interest rates. Also, a booming stock market might give corporate sector much other alternatives like the equity
hmm,
markets, rights, etc. So interest rates will go up, but my sense is so long as the accommodative policy stands
hmm.
and the OMO presence continues to remain in the marketplace, it will be very gradual, directionally up, but gradual up.
Right. So are you of the opinion that the yields will continue to remain in that six point, say a 10% mark, or do you think there is a possibility yields could go to levels of 6.2, 6.25?
The fact, I mean, it has to go up. Let's put it this way. At the end of the
Hmm,
day, you're talking of other than the last 1 month, you had negative real interest rates. We probably were the only country in the world which had negative real interest rates of up to
hmm,
2% when the economy was firing away. Okay, so negative interest rates are perfectly fine in the eurozone where economies are tanking away. So that is not a sustainable situation when you have negative real interest rates. Either you have to have the economy crashing away downstairs, or the interest rates going up. So what will happen is when stock market, it's just reallocation. So when you see headlines saying that real estate sales have never been so high, gold sales, if you saw the trade deficit number, gold import price duty has come down, and therefore gold imports have gone up substantially, right? So real estate going up, gold going up, stock markets flying through the roof, people buying mutual funds, people buying stock markets. So what happens is at the retail level, the savers will make decisions that the interest rates are too low, they're below inflation, and therefore let me go to other asset classes, which will probably give me a better return. So that process automatically will make sure that the deposit growth rate will taper off, and even now it's not strong. It's just about there. Because corporate sector also, remember, has not started borrowing in a big way. It is just
Correct.
waiting. It's probably on the annual, but it's not yet happened. So in that kind of a market, you will see that natural process happening where the deposit growth tapers off, and when the advances pickup happens, and the price will naturally go up to reflect that part. Has it happened now? No. Do we think it'll happen in future? Good likelihood.
Right. And what would your sense be with regards to where overall credit demand is concerned? Because as you just mentioned, private sector has not really started borrowing that well. With retail, again, there is a lot of selection process that is severe from here on, where banks are really not ready to lend to that quantum. How do you solve the problem where we need to see credit growth now?
I think if we break it up, I would say that agri credit growth will be very strong. The
Mm,
government itself has budgeted, if I remember my number rightly, 16% growth, and I think that's a given. Given the fact that last time also we had late rainfalls, the soil condensation level was very high, and of course we have not seen any forecast for the May-June monsoon,
mm,
but good chances are. So agri credit not an issue. Retail housing credit, given the kind of low rates, they are a big catalyst. And now I'm seeing a few other states also emulate the Maharashtra example and cut the stamp duty. I think those kinds of triggers, if the local state government, because there's more a state subject than a central subject, I think you'll see housing pickup happening. We had State Bank of India officially saying that they're looking to build a large book out there on the housing loan portfolio.
mm,
Similarly, whether it's cars, car sales, you have waiting lists in cars. I don't remember when did we see waiting lists for cars across the
mm,
spectrum.
mm, mm,
So I think that also will be well financed by cars. So those three are fine. Where you will see a question mark is the corporate sector going to buy money in a big way to set up a factory, or will it be the working capital thing? Right now, it's more the
mm,
working capital funding that's happening. The other one is something that we'll have to wait and watch. I think many measures taken, like the PLI scheme, are focused on a few sectors.
mm,
But when will the ability for a Maruti to set up the next factory, or is when they see more steady demand happening for a long time? So that's an interplay of various things. As you mentioned, we'll need confirmation that the vaccine works. We'll need confirmation that COVID is gone for sure. We'll
mm,
need confirmation to see that the jobs have come back and are staying back. So I think we are on a positive track. The visibility of what will be the final outcome not very clear, but I think the route is clear that you will see credit pickup happening, because I think this confluencing of growth across various sectors, including laggards. Many times the pickup is in the obvious sectors, a Hindustan Lever product or a ITC product, but this time you can see even people are buying everything. So I think it's no longer pent up demand. It's
mm.
people probably using up the savings and running down the savings and buying consumer goods. But slowly it will reflect in their salaries, and that is when the real
Mm.
GDP growth will happen.
Right. And then with this, another aspect to attract FI flows is where the government is working on inclusion of, Indian sovereign bonds and global bond indices. How far do you think we have reached, and anything you think that we are missing which will refrain us?
To be honest, I don't have full visibility on exactly what's happening. I'm
Mm,
sure that's aspirationally something, and it's got its pros, it's got its cons.
mm,
Pros, obviously, that if you get included out there, then there'll be a lot of compulsory buying that people will have to buy the paper and put it
mm,
as part of
mm,
the portfolio. Otherwise, they're taking a sector call. The negative could be that tomorrow, not now, but tomorrow, day after tomorrow, if a headline level emerging market negative story comes up, or the US market fires away and money deserts the emerging markets, then you could see reallocations happening, and
mm.
therefore the Indian borrowing government borrowing program will probably get hostage, become hostage to what happens in the international markets. So there are arguments on both sides of the fence. But separately, I think one has to look at the fact that today the interest rates in India even if you take a 5-year paper, this is in the 5% region. The forward premium for even 1 year, the cost of hedging the dollar rupee rate is about 5%. So in dollar rate and what is called the net dollar rate, it's
Mm,
not much. So it's a good place for those who want to do what is called carry trade, which is you borrow a dollar and you put it in INR and don't hedge. Logically, it's a nice call. People are seeing rupee strong, but when you take a view for 5 years, it's a different view, especially with the trade deficit going up, especially with crude
mm,
going up,
mm,
especially with growth happening, which means our imports will take off both for local consumption and for exports. So making a longer term call is always a tougher one. So if you're overseas investors, you're going to look at all countries and see where
mm,
you're getting the highest yield and move there. So our country definitely from a growth prospect, I think the equity market is a surefire winner. I think that will continue even at high valuations for all the reasons we spoke about.
mm, mm.
But at this rate, if you are seeing the debt market, you see interest rate going up as we discussed, which means the risk of mark-to-market losses is very high.
Yeah.
And also on a running basis, your plain interest rate is not very much, and
Mm,
you're forced to remain unhedged. So I think the inclusion in foreign, bond
mm.
indices is a nice thing to have, but I'm not so sure whether it'll attract hordes of money at this point in time, unless of course the forward hedge cost comes.
Right, right. And very lastly, Hariyar, overall, what's the view that you pick up with regards to the Indian rupee? Because amongst Asia, we are one of the best performing currencies right now. Do you think we will remain in this 70 to 73 per dollar range? Or do you see some changes that could happen?
Short term, I think clearly the trend is strong rupee, and I
Mm,
think, but for the government or the RBI buying the dollars and
mm,
supporting the rupee, I think the rupee could have gone much more stronger than it would. And it's only right that they intervene because the exporters of the country also need a leg up. Otherwise, if the rupee goes very
mm,
strong, of course, it'll hurt. So shorter term, I'm continuing to see tons of flows coming in both on FDI as well as on the equity markets because the growth story seems to be clearly there. Dollar index, where it is, I think it's hovering in that 1991 range, give or take, goes below, goes up. I think that's the situation where things can change, and that will take beyond 6 months. Is if the trade deficit starts going up like it has been, both gold, both oil and the non-gold, non-oil, if those items continue to go up, and the world doesn't seem to be that kind of a happy place that India is, and our exports are a bit more reluctant to go up. And if the stock market comes to a very, very ripe level where the
mm.
multiples are looking too high, I think that will be the time when you got to watch out for when the rupee could retrace if the FPIs decide to book profit and walk away to another EM, and that could be well a trigger. But till that time, I think the strong rupee, stable to strong rupee seems to be the mantra. And if you're an exporter, I think the forward premiums have never been so contradictorily high. So if you sell your forward dollar for 1 year, I think you'll get a very good lock-in rate for your receivables.
Absolutely. Hoping to see that this continues. Thank you, Hariyar, so much for joining us on the show. Pleasure to get great insights from you. Hope to speak to you soon again. Stay safe and take care. And I hope you enjoyed the conversation as well.
Thank you. My pleasure. Have a great